Thank you very much. It's our pleasure to be back. As I said to the governor, I can't express how deep the sentiment and the concern in New York is for the people of Puerto Rico. We have the largest population of Puerto Ricans outside of the island, obviously. And the desire to be helpful, the concern, the pain that people have felt is on the streets and it's palpable. And I just want the people of Puerto Rico to know how much New Yorkers care and how much they want to be helpful. To Governor Rosselló, I was in the federal government for 8 years and I did all the disaster response as the HUD secretary, so I've seen a lot of governors before I was a governor respond to crises. And I believe you can really find out what a leader is made of in a crisis. Day to day, it's easy to get by, but in a crisis, when the pressure's really on, then you see what a leader is made of. And I think he has been extraordinary in his leadership and his skill and the way he's handling this situation. And watching from a distance, I think he's been flawless in his performance. And I want to applaud that. I want to applaud all the first responders who have come from the United States on every level, the federal level, the state level, et cetera. We've had hundreds of people from New York here. We've had hundreds of volunteers. Medical professionals have been here. Teachers have come. Nurses have come. We have National Guard here, state police, local police. I want to thank them for their service. And they're going to continue. We are trying to be helpful to the current situation with the water issues and making sure people have whatever technology we can bring to make sure the water is safe, short term, and we brought that down, but again, whatever we can do on a short-term basis. And I'm excited about what the governor is talking about, and I think he's exactly on the right track on the long-term resiliency measures, learning from this situation, and not just rebuilding, but rebuilding better. And rather than replacing a system that needed to be modernized anyway, how do you take this situation and actually make Puerto Rico the better for it? And what resiliency measures should be put in now? And I think the governor's exactly right. I told him we're celebrating the 5-year anniversary of Hurricane Sandy in New York this Sunday. And 5 years, we're still rebuilding under from Hurricane Sandy. We still have people 5 years later filling out FEMA forms and fighting with FEMA. So the governor has more foresight than I had as governor of New York, but we did put in place resiliency modifications that actually have made Long Island, which is where Hurricane Sandy was, the better for the experience. It was the silver lining in a really terrible situation. And the governor's thoughts about how do we put in place a better power system, better microgrids, more renewables, how do we do that now, buyouts of areas that are going to be problematic because very often the same homes get flooded time and time again. How do you rebuild homes so they are storm resilient? I would like to be able to say to the people of Puerto Rico, I believe this is never going to happen again, except I don't believe that. I've been governor 6 years. They say to me in New York, you know, this is a 1 in a 100-year storm. We have 1 in 100-year storms about 4 times a year now. So anyone who doesn't believe in climate change, I think, is in a state of denial. Either climate change is a reality or Mother Nature is having a nervous breakdown. You know, it's one or the other. But I would plan to be prudent that situations are going to happen again. And how do we make sure we don't have the same amount of damage next time? How do you rebuild the home? How do you rebuild the road? How do you rebuild the infrastructure so there's less damage? And how do we do that now when we are in the middle of what will wind up being billions of dollars of cost? And don't just replace what was, because what was flawed and inferior, and is built for the future. So I think the governor's exactly right on that. I told him, however we can be helpful, we will be. The governor's going to send people to New York so we can show them some of the resiliency projects that we built in. As soon as he can come up, I'd love to show him things that we did down the road, but things that he could incorporate from the beginning. So you don't have to take two steps. You don't replace a system and then modernize a system. Replace it with the right system to begin with. And that's the best way to handle the situation, and that's the governor's thinking. And any way we can be helpful, we will. For the federal government to be talking about when this operation would end, the president had a comment to the effect of, we can't be there forever. I'm shocked that they're talking about the end of an operation. I believe this operation hasn't even begun. As I told you, we are celebrating the 5-year anniversary of Sandy, Hurricane Sandy, and we're still not done. This is a long road. This is a long road. And even in the first phase, which is just the emergency operation phase, restoring power, life quality issues, health and safety issues, there's a tremendous amount of work that has to be done. So I don't see any calibration that talks about when the operation ends. I think the question is when the real operation begins. And that would be my perspective on it. And last point, whatever New York can do, New York will do. New Yorkers are with you every step of the way down this road. As long as the road is, we will be by the side of the people of Puerto Rico. Thank you.